Emma stepped into the opulent spa, feeling an immediate sense of calm brought on by the soft lighting and gentle hint of eucalyptus in the air. She was exhausted, both physically and emotionally, and hoped this retreat would help her regain her strength. As she checked in, the receptionist leaned over with a smile, speaking in a tone that implied something more than just a regular massage. "You should book with Marco. They say he has a special touch." Intrigued, Emma scheduled a session and soon found herself face-to-face with Marco. He was tall, exuding a quiet confidence, with a subtle smile and warm eyes that lingered on her just a moment longer than expected. His presence stirred something within her, a thrill she hadn't felt in quite some time. He led her to a serene massage room, where the sound of gentle water and soft music filled the air. "Take your time and get comfortable," he whispered, his voice soothing as he left her to settle in. As Emma lay on the table, she couldn't help but wonder what it was about Marco that had everyone at the spa talking. Curiosity mixed with anticipation. Then, as the door opened, Marco's hands began working their magic on her shoulders, kneading away the knots and tension that had been tormenting her for weeks. Each movement was deliberate and skillful, leaving her almost breathless. She hadn't expected to feel anything beyond relaxation, but this session felt different. With each stroke, every ounce of tension seemed to evaporate, his touch confident and attuned, as though he were performing an art rather than a technique. Emma closed her eyes, letting herself sink into the table, feeling her breath slow and her thoughts quiet. She hadn't realized how much stress she'd carried until he began his work. The warmth from his hands seeped into her skin, and a new warmth blossomed inside her. His touch was both unexpectedly calming and tinged with an intensity that filled the room. She became hyper-aware of each subtle movement, each press and slide, as if each one held a silent message meant only for her. As he focused on her shoulders, his hands moved deliberately, almost lingering, causing her heart to race. Emma found herself strangely conscious of every brush of his fingers, each touch seeming to peel back a layer. His movements were intentional, as though he understood the effect he had, sparking a sensation she hadn't anticipated. The quiet of the room intensified every feeling, the gentle background music merging with her heartbeat. Her mind wandered, curious about the man behind those skillful hands and how his presence filled the space so fully. She couldn't remember the last time someone's touch felt so thrilling, so aware. A current of energy seemed to flow between them, making her pulse quicken despite herself. As Marco's hands moved lower, gliding over her lower back, each touch went deeper, melting away the last bits of tension and leaving her feeling lighter, freer. Emma took a deep breath, focusing on the sensation of his hands, allowing herself to fully immerse in the moment. The week's stress and fatigue felt far away, replaced by an odd anticipation she couldn't quite name. When his hands stilled momentarily, fingers still resting on her back, she felt the slightest shift in the room. It was as though an unspoken understanding had formed, hanging in the silence, waiting. She didn't know what it meant or why she was drawn to it, but she couldn't deny the quiet thrill that filled her as Marco continued his work. Emma let out a soft sigh, feeling the last remnants of stress fade. She hadn't expected such a level of relaxation, and in her satisfaction, she let slip a playful thought. "I have to say, you certainly live up to the hype," she murmured, her voice softened by the tranquility of the room. Marco's laugh was warm, a quiet sound that seemed to settle into the cozy atmosphere. "Good to hear my reputation precedes me," he replied, his tone laced with a hint of mischief. "I always aim to leave a memorable impression." She marveled at how easily conversation flowed with him, as if they'd known each other far longer than these few minutes. There was an effortless charm in his voice, a relaxed confidence that invited her to match his energy. She realized her guard was down, a rarity for her, and the openness was surprisingly refreshing. "Well," she said lightly, "you do have a unique approach. I'll give you that." Only unique, he teased, pressing gently into her back. I thought I was doing better than that. She laughed, feeling warmth rise in her chest. Don't stop now, she replied, enjoying the easy banter that flowed so naturally between them. The room filled with a comfortable silence as Marco's hands continued their work. Then he broke it with a soft, almost playful compliment. You should know, most clients don't relax this much. You seem different. Emma raised an eyebrow, smiling. Different, huh? Should I be flattered? Definitely, he replied smoothly. I don't say that to everyone. His words left a small thrill running through her. There was something charmingly bold in his tone, as if he knew exactly how to walk the line between professional and flirtatious. Emma found herself matching his rhythm, her words flowing naturally, unfiltered. Well, I'll take that as a compliment, she said, a playful smile pulling at her lips. Though I'm sure you say that to all your clients. Marco paused for a moment, leaning in just a bit closer. Only the ones who deserve it, he whispered, his tone soft yet undeniably warm. A quiet thrill shot through her as their eyes met, a spark that seemed to fill the room with something unspoken. She looked away, smiling to herself, her cheeks flushing under his gaze. This wasn't the usual small talk she made during a massage, but it was impossible to ignore the gentle, teasing rhythm that had captured them both. Their small exchanges became bolder, each response laced with a hint of suggestion. They spoke in riddles, both dancing around the edge of something they hadn't yet named, but the silence between their words seemed to say all they left unsaid, filling the room with a quiet tension that settled over them like a warm, unspoken promise. As their playful banter continued, Marco suddenly grew quiet, a thoughtful look crossing his face. You know, he said casually, for deeper muscle tension, I might need to use a special tool. Emma's curiosity piqued as she raised an eyebrow, a hint of a smile in her voice. Special tool? What exactly do you mean? Marco smiled, a glint of mischief in his eyes. Just a little something to help me get to those stubborn spots. Trust me, you'll like it. Before she could respond, he stepped away for a moment and returned holding a sleek, powerful massage wand. Emma's eyebrows shot up, surprise reflected on her face. The tool looked formidable, its glossy surface reflecting the room's soft light, and she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and anticipation. I didn't think we'd be taking things up a notch, she joked, trying to keep the atmosphere light even as a nervous energy danced in her stomach. It's definitely a new level, Marco said with a wink, a playful smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. He turned on the wand, and a soft hum filled the room as he pressed it to her back, and Emma instantly felt a rush of warmth spreading through her muscles. The sensation was unlike anything she'd felt before. He moved the wand over her back, gliding it along her shoulders and down to her lower back. The tool seemed to work wonders, delivering deep vibrations that reached straight into her tense muscles. Emma let out a soft sigh, her body instinctively relaxing further under its powerful touch. Wow, that feels amazing, she whispered, genuinely impressed. She had come to the spa expecting a good massage, but this was something else entirely. Marco nodded, his focus unwavering as he worked. It's all about finding the right pressure, he replied, his voice steady and calm. And this tool helps me get to the deeper layers. You'll feel incredible. He continued to move the wand over her back, then down toward her legs, each movement deliberate and skillful. Emma couldn't help but feel a thrill of pleasure as the wand vibrated against her muscles, releasing knots she didn't even know she had. It was as if Marco had a sixth sense for finding every tense spot in her body, and with each movement, she felt more and more relaxed. The room was filled with the sound of the wand's soft hum, blending with the gentle music playing in the background. The atmosphere shifted, taking on a more intimate tone, yet Emma found herself drawn deeper into the experience. There was something undeniably thrilling in the presence of the tool, a subtle tension that both excited and relaxed her. As Marco continued to move the wand with practiced precision, Emma felt the tension slowly melting away. The deep, steady vibrations seemed to reach into her very core, leaving her feeling lighter and more at ease with every passing moment. Yet, beneath the soothing sensation, there was a subtle shift in the air. His movements began to slow, almost deliberately, as though he were savoring each touch. Every time his hands met her skin, there was a lingering warmth, sparking something within her that she hadn't anticipated. Her heart began to beat faster, a shiver of electricity trailing down her spine as she sensed the difference in his touch. What started as a professional care had softened into something unexpectedly intimate, and she found herself caught between relaxation and an undeniable tension. Was it right to feel this way? She had come here to unwind, but now the boundaries were blurring, and the excitement of crossing them was undeniable. As Marco worked closer, the way his hands glided over her skin felt different, gentler, more personal, as if his touch held an invitation, urging her to let go. Each movement sent waves of sensation through her, kindling a warmth that spread under her skin. The wand continued its low hum, vibrating against her muscles, but it was the heat from Marco's hands that truly captured her attention. Their eyes met for a brief, intense moment, and in that instant, everything else faded away. It was as though the world outside ceased to exist, leaving only the two of them, suspended in time. Marco's gaze held an intensity, a blend of desire and respect, as though he were silently asking her permission to explore this unknown territory together. The air crackled with unspoken tension, and Emma felt a surge of courage. She gave a slight nod, a small gesture that carried tremendous weight. The barrier between client and something more vanished, and they took their first step into the unknown. As Marco's hands moved lower, grazing her skin in a way that felt electric, Emma couldn't help but shiver under his touch, her nerves igniting in anticipation. They were no longer just therapist and client, but two individuals drawn to each other by a palpable chemistry. With newfound boldness, Marco leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. "Just relax," he whispered, his voice low and inviting. Emma's heart raced in the intimacy of the moment. The gentle pressure of his fingers on her shoulders ignited a spark deep inside her, a longing she had buried beneath layers of daily life. As Marco continued his work, his hands seemed to explore further, moving with a fluidity that was both thrilling and unsettling. Each stroke felt like a promise, drawing Emma closer, and she found herself surrendering to the sensations. There were no pretense and no boundaries, only a silent understanding that they were stepping into something forbidden yet intoxicating. Time seemed to blend as the intimacy deepened. Marco's hands traveled with purpose, each touch resonating with an increasing intensity that sent waves of warmth coursing through Emma. She closed her eyes, surrendering to the moment as her breath quickened. This was no longer simply a massage. It was an exploration of desires that had long been locked away. In the quiet sanctuary of the room, they ventured further into the unknown, their hearts beating in sync, the outside world melting away as they danced on the edge of propriety, where every touch, every look carried the promise of something transformative. With boundaries now crossed, Marco moved closer, wrapping Emma in an atmosphere heavy with tension and intimacy. The outside world faded into insignificance, leaving only the two of them entwined in this delicate dance of attraction. His hands moved over her skin with a firmness that felt both gentle and possessive, sparking sensations that traveled down her spine, quickening her pulse. Marco's movements grew bolder, and Emma found herself instinctively responding, her body arching slightly as he traced the curves of her back. The wand hummed softly beside them, a subtle backdrop to the warmth of his hands, which held her captivated. There was a tenderness to his touch, a silent promise of something profound shared between them. As Marco leaned closer, their bodies almost touched, and Emma felt a surge of excitement mingled with a hint of nerves. She could feel the shift from professional touch to something altogether more personal, each brush of his fingers against her skin a silent invitation, encouraging her to release any lingering doubts. With every passing moment, the air thickened with anticipation, and she found herself surrendering fully to the sensation of his hands. "You're beautiful," Marco murmured, his voice low and inviting, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. Emma couldn't help but blush at his words, the compliment sparking a fire inside her. Their connection deepened, intensifying with each lingering touch. She responded to his movements with soft sighs, sounds escaping her lips before she could hold them back. Marco's hands explored with purpose, tracing her curves and contours, sending waves of pleasure throughout her body. He alternated between soft caresses and confident grasps, stoking the flames within her until she was breathless. Every sigh and whisper that left her lips fed the tension between them, weaving their fates together in ways Emma hadn't foreseen. The thrill of their secret connection electrified the atmosphere, deepening the intimacy between them. It felt as though they were the only two people in the universe, lost in a world they had created together. With each touch, they ventured further into a place where desire and connection merged, leaving her breathless and craving what lay ahead. Breathless and flushed, Emma lay on the massage table, her body still tingling from the whirlwind of sensations they had just shared. The air was thick with warmth and intimacy, a cocoon that enveloped them both, shielding them from the outside world. She glanced up at Marco, who met her gaze with a gentle smile that spoke volumes, a recognition of the journey they had just begun together. As they lingered in this peaceful aftermath, Emma felt a wave of contentment wash over her. The initial thrill of their connection had blossomed into something deeper, something she hadn't expected to find during a simple massage. Marco's fingers lightly brushed her skin, leaving a trail of warmth that was both soothing and electric. Each touch felt like a silent conversation, conveying emotions that words often fail to express. "I didn't expect this," Emma admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Vulnerability hung in the air, adding to the intimacy of the moment. Marco's smile softened, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "Neither did I," he replied gently, sincerity lacing his words. The simplicity of the exchange felt profound, as if they were sharing a secret only they could understand. The room, once filled with tension, now resonated with a calm that felt safe and inviting. Emma took a deep breath, savoring the tranquility that followed their passionate encounter. The soft hum of the massage wand lay beside them, a reminder of how it all began. She felt an unexpected peace, as if the chaos of the outside world had paused to allow them this fleeting moment of connection. Marco continued to trace gentle patterns on her skin, and Emma's heart fluttered. There was something mesmerizing about the way he looked at her, his warm eyes filled with admiration and curiosity. She couldn't help but return his gaze, captivated by the depth of emotion mirrored in his expression. It was as though they were the only two people in existence, bound by an invisible thread. "What happens next?" she asked, curiosity mingled with a hint of uncertainty. Her question lingered in the air, a delicate balance between excitement and apprehension. Marco paused, his fingers resting on her skin as he considered her words. "I think we take it one step at a time," he replied, his voice confident and reassuring. "Let's enjoy the moment and see where it leads." Emma appreciated his answer. It offered both reassurance and the promise of possibilities. The excitement of the unknown danced in her chest, igniting a spark of anticipation for what lay ahead. The gentle aftermath of their encounter felt like a warm blanket, enveloping them in comfort. Emma cherished the intimacy they shared. The quiet moments were filled with an understanding that transcended the physical, each passing moment deepening their bond. As they exchanged soft, knowing smiles, Emma felt a sense of liberation. She had stepped beyond the boundaries of her usual life, discovering an exhilarating new world. Light touches and playful glances hinted at a shared adventure that was just beginning. There was something intoxicating about the secrecy of their connection, a thrill pulsing through her veins. The room was filled with unspoken promises and possibilities, leaving Emma eager for what awaited them both. Each gentle touch, each shared glance, was a testament to the extraordinary connection they had created, and she felt a rush of excitement at the thought of where their journey might lead. In that serene space with Marco by her side, the possibilities felt endless, and she couldn't help but look forward to whatever awaited them. As the tranquil atmosphere slowly shifted, signaling the end of their shared moment, Marco gently helped Emma to her feet, his smile radiating warmth and understanding. The room was filled with an unspoken connection hanging in the air, a recognition of everything they had shared. Emma's heart fluttered as she stood, feeling a swirl of emotions within her. There was joy in their intimate experience, but also a hint of sadness, knowing that this chapter was drawing to a close. Marco's presence had awakened something within her, something she hadn't realized was missing until she met him. She felt alive, thrilled, and yet the uncertainty of their future lingered over her like a soft shadow. "Thank you for today," Emma said softly, her voice filled with sincerity. She looked into Marco's eyes, searching for any hint of what might lie ahead. There was a glimmer of something deep in his gaze, a reflection of the mutual understanding that had blossomed between them. It was as if they both knew that their time together had been special, a fleeting moment stolen from the ordinary, but neither could predict where it might lead. "The pleasure was all mine," Marco replied, his voice low and inviting. He took a small step back, giving her space, yet his presence lingered, palpable and warm. Emma couldn't help but notice the way he seemed to fill the room, his energy as tangible as the soothing aroma of eucalyptus that still drifted in the air. It was a bittersweet moment, one filled with the memories they had just created. As she gathered her belongings, Emma felt a pang of nostalgia. Every item she picked up seemed to hold a fragment of their time together, a reminder of the connection they had made. She lingered for a moment, taking in a room that had witnessed their passionate encounter and the quiet afterglow that followed. It was surreal to think that all this had happened in a place meant for relaxation and escape, now transformed into the backdrop for an unexpected romance. With one last look at Marco, Emma felt a rush of emotion swell within her. He stood there, relaxed yet attentive, his expression a mix of admiration and something deeper. For a brief moment, the world outside faded, and it was just the two of them, suspended in time. There was something intoxicating about their goodbye, as if they were both caught in a moment that transcended words. "Will I see you again?" she asked, the question escaping before she could stop herself. Marco paused, his smile softening as he considered her words. "I hope so," he finally said, his voice filled with genuine warmth. Uncertainty lingered in the air, creating a delicate tension neither of them wanted to break. They were two souls who had shared a deep connection, even if only for a moment, and the thought of parting felt both heavy and inevitable. With one final, lingering smile, Emma turned toward the door, her heart pounding in her chest. Each step away from Marco felt like a bittersweet farewell, but she carried a part of him with her, a spark of excitement that would stay with her long after she left. She glanced back one last time, meeting Marco's gaze as he watched her go. In that moment, everything felt right and thrilling, the mystery of their connection hanging in the air like a gentle whisper. The bond they had created was both exhilarating and tender, leaving Emma with a sense of possibility that quickened her heart. As she stepped into the sunlight outside, Emma took a deep breath, feeling a blend of freedom and uncertainty. She knew their paths might never cross again, but she also understood that the memories they'd created together would remain etched in her heart. With each step, she felt the weight of their experience, a silent promise of what might have been, leaving her with a sense of hope and excitement as she re-entered the world beyond the spa. As the story draws to a close, Remember that the thrill of unexpected connections is only a click away. If you enjoyed this journey and want to hear more captivating tales, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to our channel for more enthralling stories. Your support keeps the adventure alive. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for our next episode.